And here we are. Welcome to Tech Down Over. Tech Down Over. I'm Rick Zanitti, and I'm joined by my good friend down under. Way down under. He's in Melbourne, Australia. Jeff Blanchard, or as we affectionately call him, 00 Blanchard. How you doing, Jeff?
Good, thank you. We've got Harold Muliardi on the guitar in the background.
On the guitar, yeah. He's the new Ted Nugent. And Harold will be joining us also. He's running the video switcher, and he'll be joining us as a co-host. Here we go. This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation. Digital learning development, media development, corporate video, management consulting, and more. Visit us at www.relate.com. Thanks. And we are back, and today we're going to talk about dynamic microphones. Everybody's in jail right now. Everybody's incarcerated in their little quarantine, and even though we're starting to come out of it, we're not coming out fast enough. And a lot of people are doing Zoom webinars and other things, and their sound is usually pretty crummy. So how do you get better sound? Well, you invest a little bit in some equipment. Now, we're going to show you 4 different microphones today and talk about a couple of others. They're all dynamic microphones. Now, you may ask, what is a dynamic microphone? Harold?
Well, a dynamic microphone, as opposed to a condenser microphone, is a type of microphone that does not need phantom power supplied to it in order to be able to provide a strong enough signal to get a good audio signal to your mixer or your device.
That's pretty good. He didn't know we were going to ask him that. So now, when Harold says we don't need phantom power, there's a thing called 48-volt phantom power, which tends to power condenser microphones. That's why they're called condenser. They have a different power supply. The dynamic mics use different kind of magnets or electromagnetic fluttering to get the signal into the analog signal into the mic, which then becomes digital, and it goes into a preamplifier. Now, you do need to preamplify it or amplify it, because otherwise your signal will be about that loud. It'll be very low. So what we're doing here is we're connecting these mics to a preamplifier. In this case, we have, I'm connected this mic right here, which is the Electro-Voice RE27ND. There will be a test on that at the end, so remember that. RE27ND from Electro-Voice. This mic is a very popular mic in broadcasting, podcasting, voiceover, pretty much any kind of presentation you'd like. And it's a nice, strong, powerful radio mic. A lot of people use it in radio. And it does have a radio sound to it. I've got this connected to the Aphex studio channel, which is now owned by Rode. Aphex was acquired by Rode down in Australia. And the Aphex is one of the best compressors, limiters, and gates out there. Now, you're probably going, what's a compressor, limiter, and gate? Don't worry about it. It makes your sound better, stronger, fuller, and it stops you from doing ugly things with the mics. That's for later. For today, let's just talk about mics. Now, this is an expensive mic. This is the most expensive of the ones we're showing today, and it's about $450 to $500. You can probably get it cheaper in some places, but I'd say $450 is probably a good medium price. And it's a really nice looking mic. It's very powerful in terms of the sound it puts out. And it doesn't require too much power. Now, we have this into what's called a cloud lifter. So what that is, it's a device that you plug into. So the cable from this mic goes into the cloud lifter, and a cable that's on the cloud lifter goes into the preamplifier. So what that does is the cloud lifter powers this, so you don't need that much amplification, what they call input gain. That's the loudness you're bringing into it. And the reason you don't want too much input gain is that means too much noise. The louder you get, the noisier it gets. Now, Jeff, you've got the Aphex 230. You've got the studio channel and the 230, just like I do in your suite.
That's right.
And
Yes.
are you using that right now?
I am, and a lot of people these days say, well, you can do a lot of it in post-production or electronically, but still the Aphex, with a physical bit of unit, still does, I think, a much better job, and it's better having the sound going into the thing as you want it rather than tweaking it later. But
Now,
even
you're-
so good.
Now, you're on the Sennheiser right now?
So no, I'm on the Rode NT2G.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, 2G. I'm not on the Sennheiser. No.
So Jeff is on a condenser shotgun microphone. Shotguns are also a great way to do voiceover, to do any kind of podcasting or broadcasting like we're doing. The nice thing about what Jeff's doing is that mic can be really put out of his way. You could have it over him, to the side of him, and it doesn't really get in your way when you're reading or when you're trying to look at screens or anything else. So that's one of the benefits of a shotgun mic. And they do sound inordinately good. They just have a beautiful sound to them. Now, he's also got the Sennheiser Mkh 416, which is one of the best mics in the industry. It's a shotgun mic. We have them here. We don't have it here. I have it in another office, and I have it at home.
We have a picture of it we can show you.
Yeah, a picture of it. That's a beautiful.
Not very exciting.
Wow. I mean, look at that cylinder. Anyway, but amazingly, that has a great sound. It's really quite good. It articulates well. And by articulation, we mean the clarity of the sound, the clarity of your voice. It doesn't color it that much. So you have a very clean, nice sound. What I'm on right now does color the voice a bit. We have compression on this, which means you're getting a little bit louder or a little bit thicker sound that you may want if you're doing narration or like some sort of voiceover, reading books, things like that.
Well,
this, again, is more broadcasting.
One thing that's interesting about the setup Rick has right now, as we said, he's using the Aphex, but after that there's the Cloud Lifter preamp. And to use the Cloud Lifter, we're actually from the Aphex passing 48 volt phantom power. But so even though this is a dynamic mic, he's using 48 volt phantom power, but that's because it's not for the mic, it is actually for the preamp, the Cloud Lifter itself.
Yeah, it's interesting. Whoever created the technology was smart. It was very clever what they did, because you can run a dynamic mic with more power without affecting the input gain on these mics, which is really good, because otherwise this would get very noisy. It would be too gritty. It wouldn't sound very good at all. So we bought several mics to give you an idea of what you could use on your Zoom presentations or anything else. Keep in mind, you will need some sort of amplifier or USB device that allows you to connect one of these mics into it and then lets you become part of a mic that you can use in any kind of application. Now, I'm going to switch over here to the Shure, SHURE, SM58. We're going to turn off my Electro Voice.
And go ahead.
All right, so now you're listening to the Shure SM58 dynamic microphone. This is the cheapest mic of the ones we have here. It is under $100. This mic, for the size, power, intensity, popularity, is incredibly a good buy. This mic has been used by, like Jeff said before show, this is the Tom Jones mic. You know, it's not unusual to be loved by anyone, and you can get real close on it. Yeah, I'm not Tom Jones. You can get into this real close, and it doesn't really distort you that much. It's a really good mic. People use these for presentations, for live performances, for music, for voiceover. And I'll give you a trick. This mic is probably $75. That's it. $75. Get two of them. And what you do is you put them like a V, facing each other, and then you record with both channels on. And it gives the mic a very rich sound for e-learning, for voiceover, for broadcasting, whatever you're doing. It's a really cool effect, and it just gives it more texture, a little more thickness. But this mic is, again, under $100. It's a dynamic microphone. It's very small. If you can tell by what I'm looking at here, it's very small, easily held in hand, or it has very low handling noise, so it's not going every time you touch it. For example, I'm touching it right now. I don't know if you can hear this.
Very little.
And I'm tapping it. it. So if I did that on another mic, you'd probably get duck, 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 duck. So,
but also Rick, I also notice on that one, Rick, as well, is that the plosives are not as bad on that too. So even when you do pee, you can hear it.
I am right on this capsule. From that angle. Okay, look at the angle. I am right on it.
Yeah, and you can do Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, but it doesn't
Peter
sound
Piper picked a
as bad
peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Pep, 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 pop, 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 pop. And
you can still hear it popping a bit, but it's not like the other microphones where it's ear jarring. It's a bang bang. Whereas that's designed for the. It doesn't matter. You will hear that, but as I said, it's for the.
It actually has a bit of a pop filter built in.
Yeah, it really does a good job though, because I mean, you were right on top of that, doing as much as you could with the plosives, and you could hardly hear much. Really good.
So now I'm going to move to a different mic. This is going to be the Electro Voice, another Electro Voice, RE320.
And go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, now you notice this is the Electro Voice RE320. This looks a lot like this one, because this one is kind of its older brother. The Electro Voice RE320 was created to be a vocal microphone. Not so much singing. This is not a singing mic. This is a voice mic. So if you're doing any kind of voiceover work, if you're doing podcasting, broadcasting, or anything else, this mic is smooth. It has a nice, clear articulation. It's probably the best of all four of these for articulation. It has a really nice sound. And this is about $200, almost $300. I've seen it as low as $259. Really, it's about $300, $299, $279. It is well worth it. This mic just has such a nice, smooth sound. And I actually have two of these, and the first one had a problem. The electrical component of it at the back, which works with the analog to digital, it went bad. It just started making noise. I called them up. They said, send it in. They sent me a brand new one. I was impressed. And literally within 2 weeks, I had a brand new one, and they were so decent. So Electro Voice, very professional company. They take care of their clients. And this mic is a pleasure to work with. Now, I'm talking straight into it. If I was doing voiceover, I would probably talk this way into it, and it's still just as good. These are dynamic mics. They usually like the straight access in, but you don't have to. If you have good technique and you're not going blowing into it, you can talk into this pretty easily. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now, if I go straight into it, it might be a little bit noisier. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. I'm hitting it pretty hard. So for plosives, it's not bad. It also has, I think, a little bit of an internal pop filter. It's a beautiful microphone. It looks nice. It sounds good. And you can do almost any kind of voice work with this one. And for the price, it's hard to beat. It's a really good price. $279 out there. It's a great mic. It's got a good warranty and very easy to work with. I'm going to tap it. Can you hear that?
Yep, you can hear that. But
okay, so this one's a little more noisy.
You would expect to, if you tap it while you're tapping the microphone, you've got to hear it. If you don't, you won't be able to hear yourself.
Yeah, so it's still pretty quiet considering if I'm touching it like this, it's not really making noise while I'm touching it. So it's a really nice mic. And again, this is the Electro Voice RE320.
Yeah, we were testing before the show, and I was just remarking to Rick that, I'm pretty out of the four. I'm really impressed with the clarity of articulation when it comes to the RE320.
So are we switched?
All right, you're on the Procaster now.
I'm creating a mess over here. Hold on.
Mike Pandemonium.
The Electro Voice. Yeah, there's a snake attacking the Electro Voice now. It's wrapped around.
It got totally messed up.
This is one thing you do. this is one thing when you do a recording, you're usually only using one mic at a time, so you don't get them all tied up in knots.
It's your parents playing the old snake trick on you again.
That's right. Here we go. There's nothing, you've heard about it. It's called spaghetti. Anytime you get cables, you get spaghetti. So this is the Rode Procaster microphone. It's that P sound. Procaster microphone. Now, the Rode Procaster, again, is a very nice dynamic microphone. This, again, was built for voice. They use it for broadcasting, podcasting, radio. This one competes very well against the RE320. This one's cheaper. It's about $229. It's a really nice.
About $169. I thought it was. I thought it's a bit cheaper now, about $169. Did it go down?
Maybe it went down.
Because I know here it's about $169. So I'm sure in American dollars it's much cheaper. So.
Actually, Harold, can you check?
Yeah, I'm taking a look now.
Because when I got it was $229. And this one's probably about 3 years old.
At B&H here, it's still $229.
$229.
Maybe
so
they are selling it a bit cheaper there. I don't know. Because they are
maybe
Australian.
because I did get it ages ago, mine, but it's
still
a damn good value.
We have to pay a kangaroo tax, you know that. That's just what they do to us.
Right. But the only thing I found with that one, it's like you said, it's much cheaper than the Electro Voice. It does a damn good job.
Yes.
But I think the only thing with that, it takes a little bit more to drive it, doesn't it? That's where the other one doesn't take as much to drive, but it's a damn good microphone.
No, that's true. In fact, we did some tests yesterday. This one, and on the same recording, we put the Electro Voice RE320. And the RE320 was about 20% higher in volume by making no changes. So it's a lot more powerful. It's brighter than this one. However, by making a couple of changes to the expansion and the compression, we got this to be just as loud as the 320 without distortion. But the Rode Procaster is a great mic. It is built like a weapon. You could hurt somebody with this thing. It is so solid. Actually, except for the SM58, all of these mics could hurt someone. They're really solid. And
well, I've seen the SM58, Rick. Have you seen what the durability test was on that? Hitting a 6-inch nail in with the
I've seen that, yes.
With the SM58. I said using it as a hammer, so that was to say how sturdy it was. But that Electro Voice and the Procaster, I quite often get them mixed up when you have them, because it looks like someone's picked the design slightly, because it looks nearly identical to the Electro Voice apart from the color, doesn't it?
You can see them together there.
Yeah, I get them confused when I just see them quickly.
Well, don't feel badly. For the last week, I've been using the Procaster thinking I was using the Electro Voice. And then Harold goes, that's the Procaster. Oh, right. Yes. I totally wasn't paying attention, and they look similar when you're not paying attention.
That's right.
And I put it on, they sound pretty close. I think the Electro Voice has a better sound, but this is an awfully good sound too. It's not bad at all. All of these mics can do the job for you. Any kind of work you're doing, it can do them. Now, there is one thing to keep in mind. When you have a dynamic mic, there's two things you have to think about. Dynamic mics are very quiet. They reject noise because they have very tight patterns around you. So now you've heard this one. Can you put me back on the RE? That's just more.
All right, just a moment. Now you're on the RE27ND.
Okay, so now I'm back on the RE. So all of these have a tight pattern around your head. So they all have ribs and other things that really reject noise. Whereas condenser microphones are much more prone to the screaming around your house. If you're stuck at home and your little kid who's 3 years old comes out and goes, "Mommy, Daddy," it's going to come through the mic no matter how quiet you're trying to make it. On these, it'll come out more like, "Hey, hey." So it'll block a lot of the screaming.
So there you have it. There are reasons for those little shapes on there other than just to look cool.
Yes, and if the kid persists, you can hit him on the head with it. Okay, kid's gone. He'll be sleeping for the next 5 hours. But these work really well. They're very quiet. They reject noise. So when you're in meetings and even if you have a mic next to your speakers, it won't reflect back that much because they really reject almost 80-90% of what's coming from behind. So that's good. You're not going to get a lot of noise seeping into these mics. The other thing is they, aside from having that, have another problem, though. Something you do have to consider. You notice I'm talking here, it's pretty loud. But if I come over here, you can barely hear me probably.
Yeah, that's right.
So the minute you get away, now this mic really is supposed to be head on like this. But it's so powerful, you can easily talk sideways into it and you're fine. I find I can be loud, so this makes it just a lot better. And so keep that in mind. If you get a dynamic mic, you have to be disciplined. You can't just go, so let me see. If I get the thing over here, well, you're probably not hearing me until I get back over here. So if you are moving around a lot, get a condenser mic, or best yet, get something like what Harold had. Harold, can you come on screen and show your mic?
I've got a headset here. It's
it's actually an ear set mic.
Yeah,
what he's
ear
got.
set.
It hangs off one ear.
It's the DP. This particular one is the DPA D fine. It's like D:fine is how they type it. Directional microphone.
And that's almost $650.
I think it might.
So
be
that's
more
more
than that,
expensive
actually,
than these.
This is definitely not a cheap mic, but there are other ear set mics and headset mics that you could get and use for this sort of purpose. And obviously, I can.
Like
I
here's
can
how
go
they
over
come
here, and you still hear me because it's
and they come in these packets like this. So this is the Countryman E6 in here, which looks almost like the DPA Define. They're very similar. So just keep in mind, if you have to move a lot, if you're constantly looking at your screen or you're talking, you're showing things, these may not be the best mics for you, depending on what you're doing. If you really do need to do something like that, where you're constantly looking at screens, showing people how to use fields or looking up information, you're probably better off with a mic like what Harold is wearing, because as he moves his head, his voice never changes. You don't lose anything. If I move my head, my voice is changing all over the place because the mic is right here. Just something to keep in mind.
And that's where, when we was talking earlier about, both Rick and I was talking about the Sennheiser 416, why that's such a good mic. Neglected to say that one's about $1,000. So this is why it is such a good one.
Yeah, over here in the US, I think it's $950. Might have gone down a little bit, but and about 6 years ago it was $1,500. So it went down.
But it's a condenser mic, and it picks up everything there, but it picks up everything in the front. There's very little that comes in from the back, which is quite unusual for a lot of them. Even Boom picks up things at the back, and people quite often tend to. Well,
actually, can you open up your mic? If you can take the hood off of it. You notice it has a lot of ridges.
Yep.
That's how they reject the sound coming. Those ridges, everybody's probably got their own patent on them. They're very similar, but that creates a way to block out audio coming in from the sides. It's called side rejection, and they do a great job. They can reject from the back and the sides. In fact, Jeff, if you talk sideways into that, what happens?
It should go off a little bit. I think you can hear. Can you hear him going?
You went down a little bit, not too much.
Well, it's changed the sound, but
your voice
about
changed.
as loud as before.
Yeah. Well, but this is the road. It's slightly. But as I said, with all boom microphones, that's the idea. It goes in that direction you're doing, so they can target the person going down there. If it's off to the side, well, it won't be as good on that. So it's still get it quite well on this one, but this is the Rode, not the Sennheiser. Yeah,
and you know what though, it's still a really good mic. Rode makes good shotgun microphones. Sennheiser's in a class of their own with that 416 though. It's such a lovely mic, and they have other good mics too, but that is a good one. It's been used for years. You can see the little side notches all around it. Again, a lot of rejection. And it's a great mic, very light. It does require phantom power, but still, they just work beautifully. And you can connect these to audio devices when you're on the road, recorders, anything else. So you're going to get great sound out of that. Now, how do you power all this stuff up for your WebEx, your Zoom, or whatever you're using. Now, here's a cheaper solution. Actually, you have that cheap solution probably right near you. The Tascam?
Yes, I do the Tascam, the recorder, yes.
So
Can't
that,
grab it.
Oh, yes, it's away from you right now?
Which one is it? I'll grab a picture of it.
What's it
here?
DR40X, I think it is. The Tascam DR40.
Yep. And it's really nice. It has a really good sound to it. Tascam makes good preamps. I'd say it sounds good. I've heard your recordings on it.
It's excellent. I love that one, and there's so many reviews on different ones. People going to the different ones on there, but I find that this one is an excellent recorder. One of the great features with this one is when I do a recording, it'll do a dual version recording, so it'll record it at the volume I've set, but it'll also do another recording at whatever I set up to minus 12 dB. So if my recording, I scream and get too overpowering, I've got a backup so I can get it back off the lower recording. So it's good. So you've got a backup while you're doing it, records it twice. So
that's actually a brilliant feature. And it also supports, I think, 2 XLRs, correct?
So it does 2 SLRs, and you can have it also if you want to have those 2 and the 2 at the front top as well. But right at the bottom, you've just got 2 XLR connections in there, which takes the normal XLR, or what do you call the big I forget
the
what
the three-prong connectors.
Just that TRS,
TRS, yeah, that's right. That's what you call it. When
let me show you what it looks like. Now, here's.
Yeah, that's what.
Did I just turn on music? I did. I touched it.
It's the action music for showing your cables there.
Sorry about that. So this is an XLR cable. You notice it's got 3 connectors. If you can see it, I can put it over here. You could probably see it better. And this is how they connect. These are grounded cables, so you can run these cables 1,000 feet. That's really good, because on USB, anything over 25 feet, can't do it. So anyway, they're great cables to have. It'll go into the back of any field recorder. Those are called field recorders for the most part. Marantz makes them. Sony makes them. Tascam. Who else? Olympus makes a good one. A lot of people make them. Oh, Zoom. How can I forget Zoom? They're one of the biggest ones out there. They all make them, and they have varying degrees of cost. How much was that one?
Actually, looks like Jeff got disconnected for a bit.
He did?
Just
okay.
Coming right back in. Let's see how much the DR40X costs over here, though, and it's like 180 from a BH.
180.
Video.
So that's not bad. That's not bad.
How
and
much
you
did it
get
cost over there, Jeff?
There you go. And you get a miniature sound recording studio in those things. And you can also connect those via USB right into your computers or laptops. And guess what? Now you have a digital audio interface, a USB audio interface. So you can record directly to your authoring tools, your sound editing tools, whatever your PowerPoint, whatever you're recording into. So, or Zoom or anything else, you can go right into it from here, and they're really good for that. So for that amount of money, you're getting a USB audio device interface. You're getting 2 microphones built in, plus you can put in 2 XLR microphones, plus you can also put in a 3.5 millimeter device, like something like, it could be any kind of like an iPod, iPhone, any kind of phone. You may need a converter for the phones today, because
nowadays they're missing them jacks.
They're USB 3.1C, so you've got different kind of converters, but these things work beautifully, and it's a great solution for you, and it doesn't cost that much. So you could probably get some simple mics, and in $300 or $400, you've got a sound studio for any kind of work you're doing, and people will say, "Man, you sound good." If you're a girl, they probably won't say, "Man, you sound good." They may say, "Dude, you sound good." But anyway, they'll say, "You sound good." And that's part of it. You want to sound professional, you want to sound good, and you want to make people go, "Ooh, you have a nice voice." So have fun with that. I think if you have any questions, we're going to put them down underneath the comments. We're going to put this under 3 different shows. We're going to put it under our Tech Down Over show. Then we're also going to include it in a Mics for E-Learning playlist, and we're also going to include it in the eLearn chat so that you can take a look at that. 3 different shows, and hopefully this makes sense to you and you can take advantage of better audio for what you're doing. And believe me, as if people have their way, we're going to be stuck in prison for a very long time in some states and other countries. So let's hope we don't. But if you are, at least you'll have damn good audio. And that's part of it.
And one thing people forget with that, we're talking back to that Tascam recorder, is one of the things which makes it good as well is when you're recording on that, you don't need your computer on. And a lot of the time, you get a lot of computer noise when you're recording from fans and all that, whereas you don't need your computer on while you're recording through that. But also, some people worry about, it's going to cost me a fortune in batteries. But if you plug the there's a USB adapter on the side of them, plug them into your brick or whatever, your iPhone with the USB powered thing, and it powers up off the USB. So you don't need to, it'll go forever. And I always advise do that, because if your batteries do go flat, you never know. But with that, you push that in there. I always keep the batteries in there because it keeps the date and time, but then you can always power it off the mains. And I do my recording and don't switch the PC on until I need it to, because inevitably when you're doing recording, the computer gets hot, then the fans come on, and the quieter it is, the better for all your recordings. But I can't say how much better it is having those separate recorders without having to have your computer on. And plus, if you go even that next step further, when you're doing it, you go a bit more with a better mixer. You can just have the one sort, put everything into that, and just direct it back into the recorder, as I do. I can have any of these mics. I can have the computer going into it. I can also, like Harold said, you can have it even allows you to do Bluetooth from your iPhone if you haven't got any connections through it. So you can do Bluetooth through that and then go back into the Tascam. So that's another
nice
feature that a lot of people have. Yeah, so
and for what was it, $180?
Yeah,
that's
right
not
now,
a bad price.
Tascam,
You're getting an audio recording studio.
It's the DR40X.
DR40X.
I still need my mixer to do the things I was talking about, but that is still, I just can't. I think, and it's such an easy thing to operate. And just so nice to operate, and as I said, such a small unit, easy to carry around when you do want to do other recordings and that.
Yeah, and if you're looking for an Australian or British voice, Jeff likes to do voiceover on the side right now, and that's going to be one of his careers in the future. So he loves doing voiceovers. So if you need anything, send him a note via YouTube, or send him a note at, I guess we can put, how do people get a hold of you? LinkedIn or?
Yeah, well, anything Jeff Blanchard, what was it? Anything at jeffblanchard.com.
Jeffblanchard.com. I forgot about that. So just go to his website. Right. We'll have a link in the show notes, and he can do voiceover for you. So he's done voiceover for quite a few people already, and he has a lot of fun. He reads a lot of audiobooks and does all sorts of stuff. So
brilliant. Once you get into this with the microphones, it's so enjoyable, and then you just want to get better and better, and you just find the sound is just so important these days for everything. And you find you can watch something, but if the sound's not right, it just makes it so different. Whereas you can put up with like how many films can you watch where there's next to no picture on it, but you're still intrigued because the sound's scary and it's enthralled. You can hear the creaking of the forest. You can't see any damn thing, but if you have the sound, that dark scene would just be a horrible mush of darkness.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, one thing that I wish people would explore more and do more is there was this one game I actually played some years ago. It was made by some people as a student project called the Blind Monk Society, and you brought up the game, and it's just a black screen, but you're hearing stuff, and you can move around and stuff, and you're based on what you're hearing, you're following audio cues and stuff like that. It was very short, but
they spent a lot of money on graphics, right?
Well, I don't think they spent any money on anything. They were students, but I wish I could see more people make things like that, because I think that's interesting. Just audio experiences.
Well, there was a restaurant there in Los Angeles, and I think they had one. There was pitch black, and you couldn't see a damn thing. In only the way they had the infrareds because it was pitch black, and I thought, don't know what the damn well's saving up to you, do you?
No.
But it was one of those things that say you're not looking at what you're eating, just you're tasting it. And I don't think it lasted very long, but I thought
it's like,
that's very creepy.
It reminds me, just before the show, Jeff comes on and we say, speaking of cannibalism, here's Jeff.
Oh, I'm not a cannibal, by the way. So.
No,
but you may be if you go to that restaurant. Who knows?
We were talking about Aztecs and Incas of the past. That's it. So anyway, well, hey, we appreciate you coming on. If you have any questions on anything we've been doing, please send us a note or write comments below. Good audio does make a big difference. It'll make you sound more professional. You'll enjoy the way you sound, and you'll be more likely to want to do these things rather than avoid them like the plague. So we hope you enjoyed it, and if you want any other mic reviews, go look at our playlist on mics for e-learning. We review, I think, 18 mics in that. Some of these were in that, but there's 18 mics in total, so that'll give you an idea of some of the mics that we've reviewed and that we use all the time. So have a good one, everyone, and we will see you next week on Tech Down Over. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.